Mayor Ford, why don't you take your place?
The familiar din of Rob Ford entering a crowded Toronto City Hall after a 2-month stint in rehab. He is back in the mayor's chair today. But before he got back to work, Ford held an invitation-only news conference this afternoon where he addressed his ongoing battle with addictions.
I stand before you today having completed 2 months of intensive rehab therapy. I was in complete denial. To the people of this great city, I want to offer a public apology. I accept full responsibility for what I have done.
Well, the CBC's Stephen D'Souza was one of the reporters at that news conference, and he joins us from City Hall. Stephen, in terms of the mayor's demeanor and what he said, what stood out for you?
It was interesting to watch him walk into the room, Ian, and very emotional, very contrite. At times it seems like he was almost choking back his words and was going to break into tears, and he never really did. But it was a very tense atmosphere in the room, partially because there were so few reporters in the room and so many people outside, and that the mayor's office has decided that it would be invitation only and that they would hand select people just from major news outlets. So that created a bit of tension in the room, and at one point a couple of the reporters tried to throw some questions at the mayor in the middle of his speech, and outside we could also hear supporters of the mayor cheering and supporting him. So it was a very interesting atmosphere as the mayor spoke this afternoon.
Well, let's listen to another excerpt from his statement.
When I look back on some of the things I have said and some of the things I did when I was using, I am ashamed, embarrassed, and humiliated. I was wrong, and I have no one to blame but myself.
Stephen, as I look at that excerpt, he does seem emotional. He does seem apologetic, but there are a couple of things that kind of strike me. First of all, he talks about using, and you've pointed out on News Network that this is the first time, I guess, that he's talked about needing rehab, not just for alcohol, but drugs as well. But he doesn't really specify what he's ashamed of. And I know that's one of the questions that reporters wish that he would answer.
That's right, and it's interesting, as he was walking away, we were trying to yell out a number of questions, some very specific things. For example, he says he's taking responsibility for everything he did, but what does taking responsibility actually mean? Because in the next breath, he would go on to say that he's continuing his run for mayor. There are still a number of questions in terms of, while he did apologize to Karen Stintz, one of the female councillors, for comments he was recorded as making towards her, he didn't apologize for some of the racist and homophobic remarks that he's been recorded as saying. And so there's still a lot left for him to answer to, specifically as well with the police investigation in terms of what he did to try to obtain the crack video, why he hasn't spoken to police about their investigation. Still a lot of unanswered questions. The mayor didn't answer any of those. Instead, he sort of switched to campaign mode, and in that same sort of emotional voice, he started talking about what he wants to do for the people of Toronto and how he wants to deliver for the people of Toronto, at the same time asking their forgiveness, but at the same time also saying he wants to continue to save their money and to cut back on the gravy train and stop the gravy train. Let's hear a little bit of that now.
And with your support, I'm also resolved to continue to work harder than ever for the taxpayers of this great city. I promised to stop the gravy train. And that's exactly what I have done.
Stephen, Rob Ford back on the campaign trail. What are you going to be looking for now?
What's interesting, a lot of the relationship repair job that he has to do in terms of rehabilitating his political image has to do with the councillors here at City Hall and working with them. And from speaking with a number of them after his speech, they say that the fact that what you just heard there, his emotion in talking about his campaign, the campaign part of his speech, says that it really took away from the sincerity of what he said earlier on, and the fact that he uses sort of the same tone throughout the speech. And a lot of councillors are saying, you know what, Rob Ford is really irrelevant at City Hall. Much of his powers have been stripped away, and that when it comes to doing the day-to-day business of the City of Toronto, he has really nothing to do with that. But as they say that, they also say they're not going to count him out. When it comes to the election in October, they say they've been around Rob Ford too long. They are not going to count him out because a lot of them counted him out back in 2010 when he was first elected. So still a lot left to happen before October 27th and when Toronto goes to the polls. So it'll be very interesting to watch how things develop.
No question. Stephen D'Souza at City Hall, thanks.